Hello everyone. In the 7th episode of the series on learning English by listening to the podcast, our lesson for today will be the future tense of all kinds. And it is important and somewhat difficult for the present tense. But in this episode we will simplify it for you with my sister Julie, who in this episode will help us to teach you this lesson.
Hello. I am Julie, and we will have fun together in this lesson to start. But before starting, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and keep calm and orange juice, or your favorite drink to start.
First, when we say the future, we mean by it things or actions that have not happened yet and are about to happen, or are in continuity with the present. For example, I will go to school. And this verb has not yet been completed. I mean, after a period of time. I will go. Here is the article. Denotes the future in will.
There are different types of future tenses, and each type has its own method and meaning, and it differs from the other. I know you are saying now, that how do they differ when they all express the future? Wait a moment to make it clear to you. Tenses are the ones that change, not what they indicate. Every tense indicates a future event, and there are 4 basic tenses in the English language to express the future, which is the simple future tense, future continuous tense, future perfect tense, future perfect continuous tense.
Let's start with the simple future tense, which is aptly named, as it is very simple, and the simple future is used to refer to a later time than now, and it expresses facts. Thus, the use of the simple future is not affected by the speaker's direction and view of the event. And the verb in the simple future tense has 2 parts, will or shall plus the infinitive without the 2. Now Julie, give me the simple future tense to see as an example.
Well, this is very easy. But in what style? The question, the affirmation, the negation, or the negative interrogation?
In all of them.
Okay, we say in steadfastness, I shall see or I will see. And the subject changes according to the intended in the negative. We say I won't see. And the same thing with affirmation in the subject. And this applies to all of them. And in the interrogative, we say will I see. And in the negative quest. And there is an important point that we use. And it is when I say won't, which is the abbreviation for will not, and there are other abbreviations for will, such as when saying I'll. It is the same as the abbreviation for I will, and with all such pronouns. Another example when saying you'll is the same the abbreviation for you will.
Yes, well done, smart as usual. Another important point is the uses of the simple future. And it is in predicting a future event. For example, it will rain tomorrow. And with the first person pronouns we. I to express quick decisions, for example pay for the tickets by credit card. And to express readiness and approval. As an example, I'll do the washing up or he'll carry your bag for you. And with negative sentences to express unwillingness or disapproval. For example, the baby won't eat his soup, and to order by using shall in interrogative sentences. With the first person pronoun I as an example, shall I open the window, and to give commands with the pronoun you as an example, you will do exactly as I say. And to make an invitation with the pronoun you in interrogative sentences as an example will you come to the dance with me? Note, in modern English will is preferred over shall. Shall is mainly used with the pronouns I and we to ask, to make a suggestion, or to ask for advice. See examples above. The use of shall with other subject pronouns you, he, she, they is restricted to poetic or literary contexts only, such as, with rings on her fingers and bells on her toes. She shall have music wherever she goes.
Yes, finally. Let's end the simple future tense with a base, where we say about its formation the verb in the simple future tense of 2 parts, will or shall, plus the infinitive of the verb without to and without to. Now we will touch on the future perfect continuous tense, which is used future continuous to refer to an action or an incomplete action that will be continuing later than now. Here are several different uses of the future. See, the future continuous can be used to visualize an event continuing in the future.
Yes, and as an example of what Julie said, this time next week I will be sunbathing in Bali, or just think, next Monday you will be working at your new job, or by Christmas I will be skiing like a pro.
We can also use the future continuous to predict future events. Like he'll be coming to the meeting, I expect.
Likewise, the future continuous can be used in interrogative sentences to inquire in a polite way about information related to a future event or action. As an example of that, will you be bringing your friend to the pub tonight?
Or the future continuous can be used to refer to ongoing events that we expect to happen in the future. So we say I'll be seeing Jim at the conference next week.
And when the future continuous is used with still, we usually refer to an action that is ongoing now but that we expect to continue for a period of time in the future. For example, in an hour I'll still be ironing my clothes.
So we can extract the rule from all these uses, that is, extract its composition where the verb in the future continuous tense has two parts. Simple future form of the verb to be, plus the subject of the main verb infinitive passing.
Yes, exactly. And now I will ask you. Here I have used the future and I am talking to you. So the question is, give me the future perfect continuous of to stay with the pronoun we. And in the interrogative pattern.
Easy peasy, will we be staying?
And now we will touch on the future perfect tense. The future perfect is used to refer to a completed verb in the future. When we use the future perfect, we envision ourselves standing at a particular point in the future and looking back at an action that will have taken place before the point at which we stop. The future perfect is often used with expressions of time.
And his rule is somewhat difficult. But we do not have then. His rules say subject plus will plus have, or has plus verb in past participle plus object.
I will give you an example. By next February, I will have graduated from university, and here the subject is I plus have plus graduated, which is an intransitive verb. We are satisfied with the second degree only.
The future perfect tense is used to express events that will begin and end before another action in the future begins. The future perfect tense is used to express an action or event that will take place before another action in the future. It can also show that an event will occur before a specific time in the future. Examples: I am not going to have closed the project by the end of this month. The future perfect tense is used to express an action that will continue until the beginning of another action in the future. The future perfect tense is used instead of the future perfect continuous tense and using verbs that do not accept the addition of ing suffix. Examples: by next week, Susan is going to have had my car for 2 days.
We use the future perfect tense to say how long for an action that begins before and continues until another action or time in the future. Usually we need for. We can also use the future perfect continuous tense here. So we often use the future perfect simple with action verbs. If we use when, we usually need the present simple tense. We use the future perfect tense with a time word in the future, often with the word by to talk about an action that will end before a certain time in the future, but we don't know when exactly. Examples: by 10 o'clock, I will have finished my homework.
Important information in the future perfect tense. There is affirmative, negation, and the question, like the rest of what we studied today. So, in order to avoid repetition, we will not repeat them.
Now I will ask you to give me a conjugation of to play in the future perfect tense with the subject me and in the negative.
Easy. Will I have played?
Yes, excellent. Now is the future perfect tense. The future perfect continuous is used when we envision ourselves at a certain point in the future, and then look back to see how long it would have taken for a now continuous event to reach our point. It refers to events or actions that will happen in the time between now and some other point in the future, and the two times are infinite.
The future perfect continuous is often used with expressions that indicate time. And the sentence in the future perfect continuous tense is divided into 4 sections. Subject plus will have been plus verbing plus object. And for example, I will have been working for 2 hours when her plane arrives.
And the cases of using the future perfect continuous tense are first to express a work that will start in the future and continue for a period of time. Then a second work begins in the future, and the first work will end when the second work begins. For example, She is going to have been working that company for 3 years when it finally closed. And secondly, to express a reason for an event in the future. For example, George's English will be perfect when he leaves, because he will have been studying English in the United States for 2 years.
Note: the future perfect continuous sentence does not occur unless there are two sentences between them, i.e., if the first sentence is the future perfect continuous, then the second sentence must be present simple. Example: we will have been watching a movie for an hour when Noor finally arrives.
Another important point is adding to the verb. Most verbs accept adding ing directly without modification. But there are some verbs that deviate from this rule, and we will mention two cases. First, if the verb ends in e, we delete e and put directly ing. Second, if the verb ends with a consonant and before it is one of the letters a, I, u, o, we double the last letter and then put.
But there is an exception to this last rule, which is that we do not double the consonant even if there is a vowel before it. For example, open becomes opening. Third, if the verb ends in e, we delete e and then put ying.
Verbs of sense and perception. They are verbs that describe feelings, opinions, and sensations. And they never come in the form of the future perfect continuous. Only they come in the form of the simple and future perfect. These verbs include want, wish, love, like, hate, need, prefer, think, see. For example, when saying he will have been wanting to buy a new computer, this is wrong because the verb want is one of the verbs of sense and perception. And the correct one is when saying he will have wanted to buy a new computer.
There are some verbs that can be considered as stative verbs and action verbs, such as the verb think. It has two meanings: to think and to believe. For example, I will have been thinking. Keywords in the future perfect continuous tense: after, before, when, by, for, since. The last point in this lesson is the negative in the future perfect continuous tense. We negate the sentence in the future perfect continuous by adding the word will plus not without modifying anything else and
it can also be shortened to won't. Subject plus will plus not plus been plus verbing plus objectus. An example: I will not have been waiting for the results for a month by tomorrow.
Here we have finished this lesson. I hope you have benefited from me. Goodbye. I will see you in the next episode of the Learn English with Me series by listening to a podcast.
Goodbye. Have a nice day.